How are we all this morning? On this Tuesday? Who remembers Miranda? That was her thing, wasn't it? Tuesday. Anyway, nice to see you. So let's get into the news, shall we? Good morning, Sabby. So I'm going to start with Landlord Today. And this is a headline which states, "More tenants can afford to buy," says the Nationwide. So the article goes on to say, there was continued improvement in affordability for first-time buyers in 2025, say the Nationwide. But there were considerable variations in affordability across different demographics. Well, that's quite obvious. Affordability was toughest most for people working in sales and customer service. That's quite interesting because sales is estate agency and customer service is letting agency. Anyway, but easier for those in managerial or professional roles. And I'm presuming that's got to be to do more with the income and longevity in a role rather than the actual type of job being a problem. Regionally, it was most stretched in London. Well, obviously, London has its own little property bubble, as we already know, while North and Scotland were the most affordable. Andrew Harvey, Nationwide's senior economist, say, with price growth well below the rate of earning growth and a steady decline in mortgage rates, affordability constraints have eased somewhat. I still can't get a mortgage. The first-time buyer share of house purchase activity was above the long-run average last year. It was around 20% higher than 2024 levels. A prospective buyer earning the average UK income and buying a typical first-time buyer property with a 20% deposit would have a monthly mortgage payment of equivalent to 32% of their take-home pay. Now, bearing in mind, 20% deposit on the average housing price is still going to be, what, 30, 40 grand? So we've all got the opportunity to sit down and save that, right? 32% of take-home pay is actually less than what the threshold is if you're renting. It's actually 36% of your take-home pay if you want to rent. It then goes on to say, there has also been an improvement in first-time buyer house price to earning ratio, and that's up 4.7%. Is it getting any easier for first-time buyers though, realistically? I mean, I know how hard it is, again, talking about getting on the property ladder. You've still got to have that huge deposit. You've still got to have a great credit history. The lenders aren't changing their criteria to support first-time buyers coming into the market. So what are your thoughts? Are you trying to get on the property ladder? Were you a first-time buyer in the last sort of 12 to 18 months? How did you find it? What are you doing about saving up for that big deposit? I mean, it's a big thing. Chrissy, from a first-time buyer, it's not getting easier. Estate agents pushing for higher than expected. Absolutely, we all know that estate agents overvalue. That's kind of their MO. They're told not to, but they do. But obviously the people selling the property want to get the best price for it. So you've got that kind of sort of push and pull there. You've got the estate agent not wanting to lose the deal, but also it's their job to be honest with the seller, because otherwise the property's just going to sit on the market. They're going to end up reducing it down to what it should have been in the first place. And there we are, back to the same problem, I suppose. So moving on to Letting Agent Today, new property investment service launched by leading agents. So this is talking about a new investment desk which has been launched by Knight Frank, and the idea behind it is to win business from portfolio landlords, small residential developers and property entrepreneurs. The service, launched this week, will provide a dedicated support hub for domestic and private international investors and clients. Not sure I'm happy about international investors. Does that mean more overseas money coming over? It's described as a detailed and holistic view for all clients with existing investments. It will provide a data-formed advice about how to optimise investments in the short and long term. A statement from Knight Frank says, the investment desk will build and manage client relationships, conduct structured portfolio review meetings, and identify, then coordinate buying, selling and letting opportunities across the Knight Frank service lines. So is that keeping everything in-house, or are these guys actually going to be working as sort of buyer support? Are they actually going to be looking at other competitors and saying, that would be a great property for you to invest in? The desk will be led by Keir Waddle, who returns to Knight Frank from OB Private, where he was Head of Development and Investments. What do you think? Is this something that private investors need? As a landlord, do you feel that you would benefit from somebody working with your portfolio with your best investment interests at heart? I actually think this is something that letting agents could be doing anyway, to be honest with you. Realistically, agents know the industry better than most. There's no reason why they can't sit down with you and do a 5-year portfolio review, and then you have that checked by a financial advisor to make sure it's viable. I don't know why agents don't do that anyway. When I was in agency, when I had my own management company, that's exactly what we did. We did strategic property portfolio projections, and that was one of the things I think that kept my business growing, because I was supporting landlords to acquire new properties. I'd work quite closely with the auction houses. My agency was up in Norfolk, so it was quite a close property sector up there. Everybody knew everybody. So you knew if somebody was thinking about selling, you could get off-market deals. It was really good. I don't know why more agents don't put themselves out there and work collaboratively rather than reasons known only to them. They seem to want to stand alone and show you their pie charts from Rightmove, which I know myself and Chris Watkin just can't see the value in, to be honest with you. What are your comments on this? I'm hoping when I do find a house, if I explain my situation, especially if it's a no chain house. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Will mortgage brokers take people on face value, case by case, or is it just still a tick box exercise? Okay, moving on to The Negotiator. Now, this will be a controversial one for you. Let's see where the comments go on this. And the headline in The Negotiator is, Green MP urges Labour to buy the supply of rental homes. Sean Berry tells The Guardian councils should sign up and snap up rental homes as they come onto the rental market to rebuild the housing social stock. Green Party MP Sean Berry has urged Labour to fund councils to buy the supply of housing from landlords, arguing it can boost social housing quicker and reduce the reliance on expensive private rent. She goes on to say that a letter published in The Guardian, an open letter published in The Garden for the Brighton Pavilion MP, says, "My heart obviously breaks for the distressed buy-to-let landlords." Before setting out a proposal, she described the tailor-made to help where they're feeling the pinch. Berry believes councils should be given funding to increase the number of homes they can buy into their housing supply, including buying right to buy homes, buying them back. I agree with that. I agree that they should be able to buy the right to buy homes back, and snapping up private rented properties that come onto the market. She says this could deliver immediate construction risk-free social homes close to the existing schools, parks and health services, and provide a faster route than relying on the existing sluggish model of finding land and building new apartments. Do you think that's going to work? Do you really think, thank you for the rose, I don't know who sent that, that popped up really quickly and I missed that, sorry. Is that really going to work? Are councils snapping up private rented sector properties really going to solve the problem of the housing crisis that we have? One of the news articles that I reported on last week was that Battersea Power Station had gone into partnership with Winkworth Sherwood, which was a builder, a developer, and they're going to build 120 1 and 2 bedroom flats in Battersea Power Station on a currently disused area of Battersea Power Station. And these were going to be at social rents. And when we had a look at that, social rents for that particular area in the borough of Wandsworth were £148 and some pennies a week. But if you wanted to rent that exact same property in the private rented sector, you were looking at on average around £550 a week. Is this the way forward? Because ultimately, if people go into social housing, are they then stuck? What is their next step? If they can't buy or if they don't want to buy, what is then their next step? The private rented sector solves a purpose. It gives people the opportunity to not be in social housing. Not everybody wants to be in social housing. It still comes with a stigma. And private rented gives you the opportunity to move around as and when you want. Whereas with social housing, if you want to move, you can only do it via exchange. You can't just hand your notice in and then get another council property in another borough, because you've got to go on their list, you've got to be transferred, and it's a whole mess. So it's not as easy as people are making out, and getting a council home in the first place isn't easy. First of all, you've got to meet the 5 legal tests of homelessness if you're facing homelessness, or if you are bidding on a property, you've got to meet all the criteria that go with that. The property you're going to be offered may not be the property that you want, whereas in the private rented sector, you have all of the choice available to you. You can decide whether you want a garden or this or that or parking or this, that and the other. You don't get that luxury with social housing. You get what you're given. And if you reject it without having a good reason, then you go down to the bottom of the list or you get taken off the list altogether. So buying up private rented homes to make more social housing stock, I can see the on-paper logic, but realistically, when you look into the process and why people rent in the private sector, then it's not such a bright idea after all. What do you think? Am I completely missing the mark on that? Just wondered. So now I'm moving on to Property Industry Eye. Every time I say that, I just hear Ali G in my head going, aye. Showing my age, dear me. So this is, the headline here is TPFG completes smart acquisition. So TPFG, for those of you who don't know, is the Property Finance Group. So the Property Finance Group. And it has completed the acquisition of an 85% stake in Smart Advice Financial Solutions, or SAFS, a well-established financial services business. The Smart Advice Financial Service Solution is an appointed representative of the Mortgage Advice Bureau, one of the UK's largest mortgage intermediary networks. So with this being part of TPFG now, who have got a lot of acquisitions under their belt. I mean, I dread to think how, not dread to think, but I literally have no idea how many agencies they have that they've acquired over the years. The TPFG board believes the acquisition will support the group's growth strategy by expanding its client base and strengthen its ability to drive mortgages, remortgages and protect activity across the property franchise network. Financial Services Director Michelle Brooke commented, "We're very pleased to welcome Smart Advice Financial Solutions to the group, further expanding our terms of professional advisors, team of professional advisors, we see significant opportunity to scale the division across a broader footprint, and we remain focused on increasing advisor productivity alongside recruitment to support our ambitions." What do you think? I mean, is that a monopoly? Is that what we're encroaching on there? I mean, TPFG, I've done work for TPFG as a trainer, freelance trainer. I mean, as a group, I think they have one of the best compliance head offices of the acquisition groups. I mean, you've got other groups like Spicer Heart and all of those, and I think sometimes the HR and legal departments aren't as switched on as they could be. TPFG seem to be quite switched on, so yeah, an acquisition there. So I'm going to finish this morning on another concerning article that caught my eye. Now, obviously, we are fast approaching downhill with no brakes to the Renters' Rights Act, and the amount of compliance that we will need to be aware of with our tick sheets and our post-it notes and everything else that we are getting into. Letting agents will be as important as ever, if not more so, in making sure that landlords are compliant. It's the letting agent's job to ensure that they know the legislation, and they spoon feed that to the landlord to ensure that their landlord customers are compliant. So this headline in Property Industry Eye says, estate agencies named for non-compliance with money laundering regulations. It goes on to say that HMRC have published the latest list of businesses, including a number of estate and letting agents and property firms which have failed to comply with anti-money laundering regulations. The list, which I actually had a look at on the HMRC website, is extensive. So this particular period is, let me have a look. This particular period is between the 1st of October 2024 and the 31st of March 2025. So that period there up to the 31st of March 2025. There were 508 businesses in total on that list which have basically been fined. A number of those businesses were things such as travel agencies, art galleries and things like that. But I've managed to narrow it down to 191 estate and letting agents combined, 118 estate agents and 73 letting agents. Now, they were fined because they failed to apply for registration for anti-money laundering. Now, this is something that I actually come across quite often, and on the advice line that I run, this is one of the most common questions. Do we have to do anti-money laundering and the financial sanction checks, and when do we have to do it? Basically, the answer to that is yes. There used to be a restriction on anti-money laundering where if the rent was less than €10,000 a month, you didn't have to register. But with the financial sanction checks that came in on the 14th of March last year, it's kind of all a combined thing now. So looking at the fines as well, the fines really ranged from the lowest fine being $1,250. But the biggest fine for non-compliance, so failure to apply for registration at the required time, was $52,000. Now, you can only imagine what this can do to a business. If you're a small agency and you're getting a £52,000 fine, that's a lot. That could cripple your business. That could literally bankrupt you. So if you are an estate agent or if you are a letting agent and you are considering whether not to apply for anti-money laundering registration, get onto the HMRC website, do the test and find out if you need to. You'd rather spend 10 minutes doing that than have to fine £52,000 for not doing it correctly. And as landlords and people that are using estate agents to buy or sell, ask them that question. Are you registered with anti-money laundering? Because if they're not, you may not want to use them as an agency. So what are your thoughts on the articles that we've touched on today? Is there any specific area of the news that you want me to focus on? Obviously, I try and do across the board, but is there anything that you as my audience would like to hear about? It's easy to find headlines. They're there. The publications write those for me, but it's me trying to find the most interesting ones for you. And again, if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to sit here for a few minutes and answer those. I will have to rush off dead on time though, because I am delivering Renters' Rights Act training for the NRLA at 10 o'clock this morning. So I do have to make sure I am all ready, prepped and on the ball for that. Any questions? More than happy to answer. If not, I will let you get on with your day and I will catch you same time tomorrow, 9 a.m. and we'll do it all again.